Hi, I'm Rob and this is Gems of War. In this video I'll be looking at the Soulforge and giving you my opinion on what I think is good and bad in there. But first of all, let's pop into the events part and grab the new troop, because every Monday you get a troop which is very cheap to get, only costs you some of your glory. And in this case it's the Waterborne Owl, so let's take a look at this. Deals a certain amount of damage to an enemy and freezes them, and if the enemy dies, create 2 elemental stars and gain an extra turn. The traits, immune to frozen, which is handy. Submerge when I take damage is okay. And Born of Water, create a blue gem when my turn begins, okay. Well, that can be useful, that spell. That's actually not bad. The fact that it deals damage and freezes them is good. The only thing is, if the enemy, the best part of the spell is if the enemy dies, so you do have to try and time that to make sure the enemy is down to a low enough amount of health so that they die when you cast this. And if so, it then creates 2 elemental stars and gains an extra turn, which is handy, because if those elemental stars don't gain enough mana back for your team, then you gain an extra turn to try and make the most of that. So pretty handy and definitely worth picking up. What I tend to do with these is I go all the way to Mythic, which is recommended if you have enough glory. The good thing about that is you gain a load of, in this case, Arcane Swamp trait stones, which are super handy, and a ton of glory keys as well. So I'll do that. And what I tend to do as well is, this is completely personal preference, it's just what I do. I then go back in again once they're mythic. So, oh, actually I've got to boost it up first. I nearly done it the wrong way around. What I do, I go into troops. I will then find ascendable ones. Upgradable. There it is. Upgrade. Ascension. You can actually press the button at the top there and it will just literally ascend all troops that are available to mythic level. Then once that's done, that's now already mythic level. I can come back out again, go back into that part where that troop was, and buy another 3. Just for whatever reason, if I fancied having a team of 3 of them, I can now, and you've got the other ones. And just for the crack, you can have like a whole set of mythic ones of those now. For whatever reason. Maybe useless, but if you've got the spare glory, then it's absolutely worth doing. Right, now onto the Soulforge itself. Start with the weapons. Alright, Trick and Treat, Duskbringer, Soul of Xanathos, Heart of Xanathos, Dawnstone, Dawnbringer, Broken Guard, etc. They're all here. Is this it? That's not many. They're all there all the time, and these are in previous Soulforge video reviews, so no need to repeat myself going over those again. The new one that is here is Osseous Tome. Osseous Tome. Explode 4 gems for each blue ally and each elemental ally. Okay, that's interesting, because basically that sounds like a blue version of Mountain Crusher, basically. Mountain Crusher does explode all brown gems of a certain amount, but that will vary on your level, where this explodes 4 gems for each blue ally and each elemental ally. So if you've got like, that's not bad actually, providing you've got at least 3 on your team that are either blue or elemental, you'll explode 12 gems, and that is normally enough to get plenty of mana. So a blue version of Mountain Crusher, which works in a different kind of way, is definitely worth having, but I'm not going to buy that just yet for a very particular reason. I've only got 3,817 diamonds, and if there's a mythic that I want that is there, then I would go like crazy to trying to get my diamond up to 4,000, so I have enough, and I don't want to spend that and then find that I haven't got enough later on. Thrown out of that then for some reason, that was a bit weird. Now let's take a look at the troops which are here. Scroll Reborn, Hattai Ascendant, Leonis Tower, Enraged Kandara are here all the time, and as the weapons are in previous Soulforge videos, so no need to repeat myself there. So let's take a look at the mythics first. King Bloodwood, fairly decent. Deals a certain amount of heavy splash damage to an enemy boosted by entangled and bleeding enemies. Then steals 10 life, that's a set amount from all enemies. So this is actually fairly decent. He's got 2 good traits. The first one is not it. That's just very almost useless. But bark skin is good, reduced damage from skulls by 33%. And blood bells entangle and inflict bleed on a random enemy when matching 4 or more gems is actually pretty useful, especially when you see how it works with his spell. His spell is the damage is boosted by entangled and bleeding enemies, so getting a few 4 matches first will boost his damage, and that can be good. But overall, I'd say it's a okay mythic, but I wouldn't jump out and craft that one, especially as I've just seen this guy sitting there. Now the Grey King, absolutely one of the best mythics in the game. Really good to throw onto Guild Wars defense as well. If you've got him already, or going to craft him today or this week, then fit him into one of your Guild Wars teams somewhere, because he can be absolutely devastating to the team. Destroys all gems of a chosen colour, and all enemies of that colour take, in my case, 41 true damage, and a mana drained, silence, and frozen. On his traits, the first one is not very good, but the other two are fairly good. The second one is okay. Being immune to death mark is always handy, especially the amount of life and death teams you get these days. King's Legion is the best one though. All undead allies gain 2 armor and magic when matching 4 or more gems. So that's going to boost his damage up as well. But what's cool about the Grey King is where he destroys all gems of a chosen colour, and they're destroyed with full effect as if they were matched, then he can charge himself up again, and his mana cost for what he does is actually, I think, quite low. Only 22. So, say for example you've got a team mixed of red and blue. You cast it the first time, all the red ones are going to be mana drained, silenced and frozen. He's been charged up himself a certain amount, and then you get to cast them a second time on, say, the blue ones, and in 2 casts you've mana drained, silenced and frozen the whole team. So he's really, really good and completely worth going out and crafting. I'd say he's actually essential. If you've actually got 4,000 diamonds right now, just get him, he's superb. Champion of Guard, very defensive troop, gains a bunch of armor, and if there's 13 or more skulls, give double the armor. Then create a mix of 22 blue and red gems. So the spell is very similar to Stone Hammer, and what he does, gains armor and then creates a big mix of 2 different color gems. He's okay, nothing fantastic. The traits are pretty decent though. Reduce damage from spells by 50%. Reduce damage from skulls by 60%, but the best one is that last one, Blessing of Guard. All red allies gain 1 to all stats at the start of each turn. So maybe it could be fun to use on Guild Wars Red Day maybe. That could work in certain teams, but nothing I would rush out and craft at all. Zul'Goth, we all know about him. He's very good. Xanathos, overrated in my opinion. Ketras the Bull. Can be devastating in the right team on a Guild Wars Red Day, on a Sunspear class or something that generates lots of red with, you know, other Tauros troops at the same time. You don't see him very much on Guild Wars. He does do a lot of damage, but it's all like single hit stuff with no real chance of an extra turn. So yeah, he's okay. He's good. I quite like him. Can be devastating when taking out when you want to take out a certain enemy. Like, he does a ton of damage, and he can be useful in that way. The traits are okay. The first one's not very good as usual. The second one, reduced damage from skulls by 25%, is handy. But Raging Bull's quite nifty. Gain 2 attack, armor and life when matching red gems, but you need to do that a lot to actually make that relevant. So none of those, the traits are particularly good, but you can do a lot of damage with that spell. But with the Grey King there, I wouldn't be crafting Ketras the Bull. Now we've got a lot of these tarot ones here as well, which is unexpected. The sun, the moon, the star, the devil, all good in their own way, and they're super low mana cost. Like, they only cost 6 for these things to cast, and in a right team that can loop with the colour of whatever they use, can be really, really handy. I'm doing a series of videos later showing each one of these in turn on a looping style team, where you basically can get that 7% chance of an extra turn for each yellow on the board to boost up to a point where it's virtually unmissable. So I'll be showing those later. But there's nothing there. I wouldn't craft any of these straight away. They're going to turn up in chests regularly enough, so would not generally craft legendaries in general. This one here deals, in my case, 41 damage to all enemies and inflicts bleed on them. That's pretty good. But again, nothing worth going out and crafting, I don't think. Viper deals a certain amount of damage to an enemy, poisons and charms them. Like poison is really, really low damage these days, so that's not worth anything fantastic. But charm can be really good, especially against enemies with a high attack, because they're basically going to do damage to their own team. But again, not worth casting. Hydra, weird troop this, deals a certain amount of scatter damage boosted by my missing life. So you have to get this thing hit to make it relevant. Find it really weird and not worth crafting for me in any way, shape or form. Ah, webspinner's here. Now, semi-forget what I just said about I don't normally craft legendaries. This is one legendary, if you haven't got it, which is very, very worth crafting. The spell sounds a bit rubbish at first, and it kind of is. Deals a certain amount of damage to all enemies and poisons them, then create 9 green gems. That can repeat if you've got a lot of green there, you can get an extra turn out of that, but he's not here for his spell. Webspinner was here because of his skull damage. Now you need to get this thing fully traded up, and the first one is immune to poison, but don't care about that. It's the other two which are totally relevant. Inflict web when doing skull damage, and then the last one, lethal toxin, deal triple skull damage to poisoned and webbed enemies. The thing to realise about this is the traits are there automatically, so are basically there before you do a skull match, if you know what I mean. So you do a skull match and they're automatically going to be webbed instantly, and that lethal toxin then applies. So basically this means you get triple skull damage when using web spinner, and you'll see him at the top of teams many times. Any random skull hits the enemy gets straight away, can one shot many opponents. You'll see him at the top in first place in Guild Wars battles. Really, really good troop. If you've got the spare diamonds and are in a hurry for this guy, then you will not regret crafting him. He's absolutely superb. But if there's only one troop I could craft from here, it would absolutely be the Grey King. Grey King takes first place for me as worth crafting out of the troops. And secondly, I would definitely craft web spinner as well. Absolutely superb. Right, there's the Soulforge review. If you found it useful or helpful, it'd be cool if you liked and subscribed. But most of all, thanks for watching. See you again next time. Bye for now.